G'day everyone, today we're looking at the Telestrator input in vMix. It allows you to draw dynamic content onto your production. All you need to do is have a device with a modern browser that's connected to your local network. vMix allows you to see a low latency video output from vMix in the browser, and then you can add content to it. You can draw lines, shapes, add images, and even control the production using the Telestrator shortcuts. To set this up, you will need vMix 28 or later, and vMix 4K Pro or Max. Keep in mind that this is a very simple way to quickly add telestration to your production. It's not for AR, 3D, or real-time tracking. It's meant to be an easy way for anyone to telestrate using their own device, all within the confines of a vMix production. Now this is a long video, so if you'd like to jump ahead, use the chapters below. And if you'd like to try out vMix, you can use the free 60-day trial at vmix.com. Now typically when you add a Telestrator input in vMix, you would go down to Add Input, then go to Telestrator, and then you'd be able to add one. However, we need to enable telestration in the settings and web controller first. So let's go ahead and do that. So in the top right-hand corner, we go up to settings, and then we go down to the web controller here. Now the web controller is a browser-based interface where you can control different parts of your vMix production. So things like your shortcut switching, your actual switching, your different tally lights, titles, live LAN, and now the Telestrator option on the end. Now the cool thing about the Telestrator is that it's going to show you a low latency video feed in your browser, meaning that you could actually use it as an output monitor or even a multiview monitor and use the audio levels to monitor your audio as well. Now you could actually use it as a multiview switcher as well if you enable the click to preview option in the multiview settings, and I'll go over that a little bit later on. All right, so let's go back here to the web controller. Now first of all, we need to enable the web controller. So up the top here, make sure you tick the box up here that says enabled. Underneath that, you'll see a website address. Now, if you double click on this, it will open up a browser with this address so you can see the web controller, or you can copy and paste it. Underneath that, you'll see Telestrator. So in order to turn it on, you'll just need to tick this box right here. Next to that, you'll see video source, and you can choose what video output you're going to be sending to the Telestrator. Now, because I want to telestrate over my main program output here, I'm going to select output 1. Now, if you wanted to send a different output, maybe a mix output or a multi-view output, you could use one of those here and assign it in the settings. Underneath that, you'll see video quality. Now, this is on 2 megabit by default, and this is just a guide. This is just the video that's being sent to the person that's doing the telestration on. So it doesn't need to be super high quality. I'm going to change this to 8 today, and that's because I'm recording the screen for this tutorial and I need it to be a high quality. Typically, I would just make it 1 or 2 megabit. Now, if you've watched any of our vMix videos, you'll know what this hardware encoder tick box means. By ticking this, it means that your graphics card can do the encoding. So because NVIDIA GeForce cards have quite a number of encodes on them, you could use the encoder for the telestration, recording, and streaming without any issues. Now, if you weren't sure how many encodes you were using, you could go to the statistics section of vMix, go to encoder, and then see how many hardware encodes you're currently using in vMix. All right, so underneath that, you'll see a username and password. Now, this allows you to password protect the web controller or just the Telestrator if you wanted to. Now, it's best practice to set up a password here so that people on the local network can't gain access to it. Now, underneath that, you'll see a tick box that I've got selected that says allow software in this computer access without login. I've just got this tick today so I don't have to keep logging in. I'm giving the browser access on this local computer to the web controller without a password. So that's why I've got that ticked. Now I've got all of this set up, I'm going to need to access the browser web controller. So I double click on this up the top, or I can just copy and paste this, give it to somebody, or copy and paste it into my own browser. So make sure you copy that now. Then click OK down the bottom. Now we need to add a Telestrator input into vMix. Just go down to Add Input, go to Telestrator, and now we have the option to click OK to add one. Okay, so now we have a Telestrator in the vMix production. As you can see, it's blank because we haven't sent any drawing data to it. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to make it in overlay channel 4. That way it's always on my program output. So when I draw stuff, it's going to appear. Now you can choose to add this to a layer or a different overlay channel. It's up to you how you want to display it. All right, so now let's go over to the web controller. As you can see, I've got the web controller open here. I put in the web address. And now I need to go to the Telestrator by going to the far right, which has got the little finger and the screen. Okay, so here we are in the Telestrator. Now, as I mentioned before, the Telestrator is a low latency video feed from vMix to the browser. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that I'm using Edge here on my local computer on this PC, and so the browser and the functions might look slightly different depending on what browser you're using, whether it's an iPad or a laptop or a tablet. So certain functions and menus may look different, or they may not be there at all. For example, full screen on mobile devices doesn't tend to work with browsers, so you might not see that option. All right, so here we are in the Telestrator. Let's go through some of the drawing tools in the bottom left. So over here, you can select this box here, choose a color if you want to. I'm just gonna leave this on yellow. And then to draw, you just click anywhere and start drawing like so. You can change the width by clicking down here and changing the width. It's on 8 by default. This is what 16 looks like. Now, the width and color will affect the shapes here and the drawing. So if I selected the rectangle, you can see it's now 16 and it is yellow like so. So you just need to select in the top left-hand corner and then drag it to the right. And as you can see, it's going to anchor in the top left here and drag across. Now in the Telestrator, you might see these boxes move out. That's just the refreshing of it. As you can see in the actual program output of vMix, you don't see those extra lines. Tim from the future here. Now I did forget that you could just click and drag to create these squares from any point. So from right to left, left to right, up, down, that sort of thing. And it's just going to anchor at that point in which you click it. So if I click down here and then drag up, it's going to anchor in the bottom right-hand corner. The same works for the circles. They do drag out slightly differently, but I will explain that now, but you can drag them from any direction. Now I'm going to select the circle option down here, and then I'm going to click and then drag to the right here. And as you can see, it's actually anchored in the center. So you need to select the center point you want to use like so. Now it's going to be idea to play around with these just to see how it all works, to see how it's going to go in your workflow. Now next to that, you'll see an image icon. So if we click on this, you'll see any custom images that you've uploaded and any images that we've put in here by default. Now, this is a custom image that I've uploaded, this arrow here. So I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to click and then drag to draw this arrow on the production, like so. Now, how did I get this arrow into my Telestrator browser here? Well, in vMix, you can actually right-click on your Telestrator input and then open Images folder. So that's going to open up your storage folder where you can put your images. Now I'll link that in the description as well, or put it up on the screen here, the exact folder destination. This can be a PNG or SVG and can be maximum size of 1920 by 1080. So as you can see here, I've got this arrow in here and I can use it in my telestration. All right, so let's go back to images now. Now here you'll see some other images, but underneath that you'll see some numbers. And this is where you can add a number to your telestration, and it will also begin your incremental numbers as well. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to select 7 here and click, and it's going to update to number 7. Now underneath that, you'll notice that there's an 8 now here. So if I click it again, it's going to be 8 and then 9. So these are incremental numbers that you can count up to 20, like so. You can click it to move up to the next number, or you can go back to the images section here to change the number back to a new starting point. So 2, 3, 4, like so. Now, if you want to make these bigger, you can click and then drag them like so to make them bigger. Next, you'll see a little red dot. If I click this here, it is going to be a pointer. So if I wanted to highlight something like this here, I can click on it, hold down the mouse, and then circle it to highlight it, unclick the mouse for it to be released like so. So I can draw things and highlight over the top. Now this is typically used in presentations where people are trying to point or highlight something, so you can use it now in the Telestrator if you want to. Now you may have already noticed me using some of the buttons in the bottom right already. Now you've got undo, you've got erase all, and then full screen over here. Now if I just add some content to this, I can go back and undo one at a time. If I add a whole lot that I want to kind of get rid of, I can then go down here and click erase all. If I wanted to make this full screen, I can click the full screen option here. Now this is handy if you were using this as a full screen output monitor that somebody was looking at, so you don't have any of the telestration options on it. It's just completely full screen. Now keep in mind that some browsers won't allow you to do this, especially mobile browsers don't have the option to go full screen in a browser, so you may not see this option on a number of mobile browsers. The latency of the video feed can be adjusted next. By default, this is configured to normal for optimal smoothness under most conditions. You can reduce it by clicking here and going to low to adjust the latency. However, I like it as smooth as possible, so I'm going to leave this on normal. Now the video button over here will switch off the video. As you can see, it's gone now, so it's going to switch off the video to the browser. And then finally on the end here, we have drawing on. So if we click this, it makes the drawing not available to be done. So I'm trying to draw on this and I can't actually draw anything. So essentially locking the telestration here. Now this might be handy if you want to use the Telestrator as the multi-view switcher, like I mentioned before, so you can click on different options. And I'll go over that at the end of this video. Okay, so I should just turn the drawing back on, and now we need to cover one of the more important things about the Telestrator, and that's the shortcut boxes down the bottom. vMix allows you to assign 10 shortcuts that can be used from the Telestrator. These could be used for anything, but some good options might be to play pause for video or replay, switching cameras, or using overlays. I've set up one here for overlaying a title, like so. And I've also got one that allows me to switch from preview to the output. So if I click on this here, as you can see, it's going to go from preview to output. So let's quickly go through the setup of that in vMix. Let's go up to settings, go down to shortcuts, and we're going to add a shortcut. Click on add, and we need to select a key. Now I could actually go up the top here and select none if I only want to use it in the Telestrator. I'm just only assigning it to Telestrator. I don't need any keys. So I could use it on none, which I've done for the other two. But I'm going to use the F1 key here today, just so I've got it on a physical key, or if I wanted to use a Stream Deck or something along with the Telestrator. So I'm going to press F1. Now for the function, what I'm going to do is play pause a video while I'm telestrating. So I'm going to go down here and go to play pause. And then I'm going to assign it to my video file, which is Heath Skill Final, like so. So a very important step here is you need to add a title to the shortcut. So I'm going to call this Heath Vid. So it has to have a title if you want to add it to the Telestrator. Underneath that, you can select it as a local shortcut, this preset, add it to the web controller if you want to. But most importantly, if you want it in the Telestrator, you have to click this tick box here, like so, and click OK. Now the Telestrator will show the first 10 shortcuts that have that tick box selected to show in the Telestrator. So the first 10. If you ever need to reorganize your shortcuts to have the first 10 in there, you could select it and then move it up to the top so that you can have the first 10 Telestrator shortcuts appear. So you want to have them set up in that order on this screen. So now the Heath Vid shortcut will be the first one in the list. All right, so let's go ahead and click OK. Now that's refreshed my Telestrator here. And as you can see, I've now got the Heath Vid is number 1 here. All right, so I'm going to try and put this all together now and give you a demonstration about how I might use the Telestrator. So I'm going to move this Heath video over here to the program output so I can now see it in the Telestrator. So this is at IBC, and the idea is that we throw these mouse pads onto the mouse pad holder like here. So that's the general idea of what we're going for. Now I'm a little bit concerned about Heath's elbow angle here and his knees. I'm a little bit worried that he's not going to quite get the lift required to get that over, but I'll use the shortcuts here to play the video and pause it, and we'll see how he goes. Actually, that looks bang on. So it should just come down here and then maybe bounce down here. Not quite sure, but we'll see how it goes. Let's play this out. Oh. So that's unfortunate. He managed to end it up down here as opposed to being up here in this section where he needed to be. So that's a tad unfortunate. So let's play it out again. Let's pause it. Let's switch back to our drawer here. Now, ideally, his elbow is a little bit maybe flatter here, so he might be able to get some better action on this, but we'll see if he's overcorrected or not. Let's play this out. And no, unfortunately, Heath has not made it. So that's a little bit disappointing, and you know, he's a little bit sad. Okay, so that's an example of how I might use it. I'm sure you've got much better ways in using the Telestrator in vMix. Now, before I go, I mentioned that you could use the Telestrator video feed as a multi-view switcher. In vMix 28 and newer, you can set up your multi-view to allow clicks to move an input to the preview. So if you've got the drawing off in the Telestrator, you can use the browser to click on an input, which will move it to the preview. And then you could set up a shortcut to move from preview to the program output, much like I showed you before. So in order to do this, you're going to need to turn this new function on in vMix. So go to Settings, Outputs, and then you'll need to go down here to the multi-view layout. Now, I'm just gonna do it on multi-view 1. You might choose to do it on multi-view 2 if you want to, if you don't wanna have somebody accidentally clicking around on it. And only set this up if you actually wanna use it this way. So I'm going to click on Customize Layout. And then here I've got the option to enable click to select input. So if you want to be able to do this, tick this box here so you can click on an input to move it to preview. Okay, so that's done, and then I'm going to go down here and click OK. Next, I need to set up my output to go through using the multiview. So I'm going to go to output 4 here, and I'm going to select multiview 1. Go back to my web controller, go to the Telestrator, and select output 4. So the output 4 was assigned to my multiview. So now output 4 will appear in my Telestrator, and it will be my multiview. So I'm going to click OK. So now in my Telestrator, I have my multi-view. So if I go down here and turn drawing off, now I can click on something to move it to preview, like so, and then I can use the shortcut to move it from preview to the output. So I'm going to use this fade transition, which I created for the Telestrator. Click on it. And as you can see now, it is transitioning between the preview and the output. As always, we recommend following the 3 rules of live streaming to test, test, and test again. There may be some things that you might need to discover and work through, like drawing the different shapes and uploading images and that type of things. Feel free to give it a go and see if it fits in your workflow though. Now, if you do have any questions about it, please send us an email via the support page on vmix.com. If you have any feature requests for vMix, head to our forums at forums.vmix.com and go to the feature requests section. We can't really do support or feature requests here on YouTube comments, so definitely go to our website. If you want any more information, check out the help guide linked in the description. And if you made it this far, feel free to let me know what your favorite cold beverage is. I don't mind a nice iced latte from the coffee shop. All right, so thanks for watching, and we'll stream you later.